For 3 years, that was the duration of my vigil, awaiting contact from my father. When the missive finally materialized, my hands trembled. His penmanship was distinct, sharp, intentional strokes, the very script that once guided me through my youthful scholastic assignments. I yearned to rip it open, to hear his voice echoed on the page. However, my grandfather, the renowned magnate, intervened. Hold on, he commanded, his gaze narrowing. I inquired what the matter was. He gestured toward the envelope's apex. Can't you discern it? I drew nearer. Initially it seemed unremarkable, but then a cold dread washed over me. The seal was not my father's, it was a fabrication. In that instant, the truth became evident. My father had not communicated with me. Someone sought to implant that belief. Someone desired me to be frail, unfocused, exposed. John, the character at the center of this clandestine drama, who had been abandoned by his father at the tender age of 16. Not a syllable, not a sign. His mother wept herself to sleep each night. John, in response, constructed barriers. The only relative who persisted was his grandfather, a man of icy demeanor, ruthless in business, yet brutally honest. He reared John in boardrooms, not parks. John once harbored deep resentment for this upbringing, but on that specific evening, as his grandfather prevented him from accessing the letter, John comprehended that his mentor's domain had become his own. I traced the document's point of dispatch. It had been sent from New York, a metropolis my father had never once set foot in. The paper stock bore no resemblance to his usual preference, and the content itself, when I finally unsealed it under my grandfather's scrutiny, was equally flawed, excessively polished, too rehearsed, overtly manipulative. The dispatch was straightforward. Rendezvous with me privately. I yearn for your presence. But I recognized the rhythm of the phrasing. It was not my father's tone. It was my uncle's, the same relative who had pilfered funds from my grandfather's enterprise, the very kinsman who had absconded with the fortune and permitted my father to assume the culpability. Suddenly, every piece of the puzzle interlocked. My uncle wished for my arrival. He desired me to be unwary. A deliberate snare. I did not erupt in fury. I did not shed tears. I sat in profound stillness, mentally mapping every single aspect. If he presumed I was still the vulnerable youth he deserted, he was gravely mistaken. I was my grandfather's designated successor, and I intended to prove it. I began gathering evidence, financial accounts, offshore monetary transfers, real estate registered under dummy corporations. Every clue my uncle had carelessly left behind, I tracked. For several weeks, I remained silent. I conducted my life as though the missive possessed no significance. But behind this facade, I was constructing a scaffold. The initial action was subtle. I reciprocated his game. I responded to the letter, I shall appear. Inform me of the location. He believed he had prevailed. He arranged a meeting at a secluded estate in Monte Carlo, but I was already several steps ahead. I had solicitors, private investigators, and a security detail feeding me data instantly. The second move was fiscal. I disseminated anonymous information to governing bodies in 2 territories, revealing the shell accounts. Quietly, I rendered them inaccessible. The third maneuver was personal. I had a confederate, an erstwhile childhood friend whom my uncle believed he had exploited years prior, impersonate my supporter. My uncle placed his trust in him, unaware that he now operated under my direction. Through this associate, I fed my uncle misplaced confidence. By the arrival of the night of the appointment, my uncle was convinced he exerted control over the governing body. He did not comprehend that I had already completely subverted it. I entered the villa alone. No protectors, no grandfather, no safety device, just me. My uncle greeted me with that rehearsed grin, the one that once deceived everyone. You've matured, he stated, extending his arms. I did not embrace him. Where is my father? I demanded. He hesitated. His eyes wavered for barely a second. That was sufficient. You'll be seeing him shortly, he fabricated. I pushed a forged communication across the surface of the table. This is your penmanship. His smirk faltered. You are unable to substantiate that. I leaned in, composed, unflinching. I need not. The authorities already possess the means. Your deposits are blocked. His face was drained of pigmentation, and then I articulated the component he had not anticipated. My father did not vanish. You silenced him. You interred him in debt, in accusations, in untruths, and now I am interring you. He lunged over the table, desperate, cornered, but I did not recoil. Security personnel intervened. My security, concealed until that precise moment. He was forced to the ground, cursing, screaming vows he could never fulfill. I observed him struggle like a wild beast. Then I whispered the final syllables he heard as a liberated man. You instructed me on how to identify treachery. You instructed me on how to terminate it. The globe observed my uncle's downfall. His enterprise imploded overnight. Exposed as a deception, my father's reputation was restored, though he never returned. Perhaps he was incapable of doing so. Perhaps he was already deceased. But for the very first time, I experienced no animosity toward him, only clarity. I am the hand that composes the conclusion. And when I finally ripped that falsified letter in two, I grasped something profound. It was not merely paper. It was the last shackle he held upon me. Now, it is vanquished.